What is the applicant's rep contending? Is wasn't at the business meeting, so I don't have the benefit of understanding the change being proposed by the commissioners or the staff.
Yes. Can you explain, staff?
So at the business meeting, it was noted, or it was asked if the commissioners could require that the shape was kept. So with the shingle roof, it's got kind of that curve to it on the bottom of the shingles, or well, kind of blunted square look. So it was asked if we could ask the applicant to keep that shape, as you can see in the picture on the screen now, or if the applicant did have full run of the approved shingles list.
And my understanding is that it's a complete replacement, so it's not that we're trying to match something else.
No, we're just replacing the top elevation. The shingle portions that are already there are staying intact. Those were replaced, I believe, like 10 to 12 years ago.
And when you say the existing shingles intact, you're talking about the porch and sort of lower roof elements, right?
Yeah, in the garage, yes.
In the garage. So really, the entire house roof is what we're looking at, or it's separate, and it could be that it could be a different shingle, and it wouldn't that was more authentic, and it would not grate against whatever's going on the porch roof. So I guess I don't know. We've allowed so many times a more typical shingle. I think that it would be very appropriate if the owner did a better shingle, as staff is suggesting. It would make the house more appropriate, but I'm not going to stop the applicant from using a shingle matching the porch roof.
Okay. I'm sorry, I've kind of lost track. Shannon, have you said anything yet?
So I was the one that kind of brought up matching the shape. But I mean, I'm not going to die on that sword. So whichever the rest of the commission, feels is appropriate, and if staff thinks that what the applicant is asking is appropriate, then I'll go with that. Okay. And Todd, did I give you a chance yet?
Yeah, I'm okay with the application as submitted.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I don't have any significant concerns. I'm okay with them since it's matching. So can I hear a motion to that effect?
Sure, I'll do it, Jason. I move to approve application 20-10-014 as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. I'll call the roll. Todd?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So motion carries. Thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Number 3, 20-10-015. Staff?
Right. This application is to place public parking signs on or around the High Street corridor. Signs will be placed at 30 Eden Alley, 66 East Goodale Street, and 68 East 2nd Avenue. The signs will have a 2-foot diameter with a white P and border with a blue background. These will be mounted on 2-inch square steel posts, 7 feet off the ground, or 10 feet high on telephone poles for the submitted documentation. The commissioners at the business meeting had no comments. They assumed that this is part of the Short North Parking Plan, which the applicant confirmed this was part of the Short North wayfinding study. Staff recommends approval as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted for staff review and approval prior to issuance of their certificate. Recommendations are the Italian budget guidelines and Short North parking and signage. I will also note, just to clear up any confusion, this was also submitted to Victorian Village, so I believe you have 2 addresses that are across the street, which are also marked on the map. We are not approving those. Victorian Village has those, just so not to create any confusion.
Gotcha.
And I believe Caitlin is on. She is our applicant.
And
Okay, great. Caitlin, can you, where are you on here? Somewhere in these. Oh, there you are. Can you state your name for the record? Raise your right hand.
Caitlin Dunn,
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
I do.
Okay, great. So over to you.
Kim did a great job. You guys were right in the business meeting that this was all MKSK, Robert Farron and their team, and a lot of community partners to figure out what the best wayfinding plan is for the parking P signs. So people who are a lot smarter than me came together with this plan. So that's it.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions from the commissioners? I'll start with Shannon.
I have none.
Todd?
Nope, no comments.
Ben?
Of course. I think the wayfinding thing is great. I just simply loathe the idea of putting more posts in our streetscape. So I would support this more robustly if parking signs occurred on posts, which they do in some cases, by the way. But wondering why a P, for example, I know this is in Victorian Village, but it's a good case point near the Garden Theater. Why those can't be mounted to the light post, and or in any case, find a location that's not in the pedestrian walkway. So knowing that if this can't be corrected at the moment, I probably will just, for drama, say that I'm against the project. Just so that we know what is appropriate going forward when we're placing things into the walkway pedestrian space.
Okay. Lauren, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely hear your comments, Ben. I appreciate those. But I will support this kind of based on the fact that I went through that planning process. So, okay. Can I have a motion?
I move on
Move to
application
approve.
20-10-015 from the Short North Alliance to approve the parking sign implementation project as proposed.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Ben?
Against?
Todd?
4.
Shannon?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yeah.
And Jason's a yes, so it carries. Great. Okay, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for coming in.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay, number 4 is 20-10-16. Staff? Oh, it looks like Ben's going to have to recuse from this one, yes?
Yes, this is 839 Summit Street. The proposed project is to remove an existing chain link fence in the front yard, replacing with wrought iron fence to match the existing fence along the street. It would be a 410-5F as submitted. Per the Italian Village guidelines, new wrought iron fences should be simple in design. I don't believe we had many comments at the business meeting for this. None against, certainly. I don't believe we've really ever said too much about not putting a wrought iron fence up unless it was about the design. Staff does recommend approval as submitted with any clarification to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of certificate. Basis for recommendation is the Italian Village guidelines, fences and enclosures.
Okay, let me go through Shannon.
No issues.
Is that okay? You're all right?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Todd?
No issues.
Lauren?
No issues.
Same here. Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
Sure, I'll move to approve application 20-10-016 for 829 Summit as submitted.
Second.
Great. I'll call the roll. Todd?
Yes.
Abstain. Ben abstains.
A yes out of Shannon. I just heard Ben abstains, and I say yes. So for nothing with an abstention, it carries. Okay, moving to number 5, IV 20-09-015.
That item has been withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, do we need to take any action?
No. They should hopefully be back next month with the drawings and items that they needed that were requested at the business meeting.
Okay, excellent. On to the next one, IV-20-10-017.
All right, this is 953 to 979 North 4th Street. The proposed work would include repairing the parapet wall to the previous condition. Bricks that can be salvaged will be reused. Those that cannot will be replaced with bricks that match per submitted documentation. The darker bricks in the darker brick is the original brick, while the lighter brick in the photo is the proposed newer brick. We did have a photograph that I added at the end for a different type of brick to see if it matched a little bit better. So I'm just calling that out that is in there. The commissioners at the business meeting were a little confused which bricks were new and which ones are old, and had asked for them to be labeled, which I am sorry I didn't get around to. Commissioners were concerned that the lighter brick did not match closely enough. The original brick has black flecks in it, and the replacement should match those. Staff recommends approval of the application with the clarification that the new bricks need to more closely match the original, incorporating those specks of black, or to continue the application to allow the applicant more time to locate a suitable brick match. Basis for the recommendation are 3116.11, the standards for alterations 2, 5, and 6, which I've listed out below, and the Italian Village guidelines, body of the house masonry. And we have our applicants here.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. You turn your camera on, please, wherever you are.
No, actually, I'm just doing a phone call from a phone. I don't know how to exactly turn the camera on.
Technically, you need to have a camera on. I don't know. Staff, what's the story on that?
Oh, I
currently?
didn't know. I didn't know I would have to have a camera. I thought I could call it, say the call or WebEx. I thought it was kind of like the same thing. It was giving me an option.
Yeah,
of
you
the
can
two.
call in order to listen, but you can call. Hold on, give me a second. You can call in order to listen, but in order to testify, we need to see your face. It's part of the legal requirements for the city at this point.
We also need the video so we can swear you in, which I believe with WebEx, you can download the app, and as part of the app, you can use the video from your phone so that you can have both of the audio and the video. So we hit both of those requirements. I'm not sure what type of phone you have, because I know that's not always the case with some of the older phones, but we could always allow you time to go ahead and log out, get the app, and come back on, and we could kind of bump you down the line and hear you later.
Is that possible? Do you have a
Definitely would
smartphone?
have to have. Yep, I do have a smartphone, and I'm downloaded it now. I think it's a Cisco WebEx meeting.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep,
Yes.
I'm downloaded right now.
Okay, just call back in when you get a chance. We'll just go to the next one. We'll come back to you as soon as you get it all figured out.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. We appreciate it. Okay, so moving on to the next one then is number 7, IV 20-10-018.
Okay, this is 1077 North 4th Street. Proposed work includes renovating existing single-story house, including the gutter and downspouts, new roof, siding, doors, windows, and landscaping. Windows and shingles are from the approved lists. Proposed door on the front and rear are single-panel doors with glass, while the proposed windows would be 2/2 Marvin. This also includes removing existing vinyl siding and replacing with hardy plank lap siding in iron gray with a smooth finish and 5 1/4 inch wide and 4 inch exposure. add a single-story front porch, replace roof shingles with a GAF slate line dimensional shingle and an English slate gray. Landscape alterations to the front of the house include removing a bush and a tree. Commissioners at the business meeting thought the design was moving in the right direction. Commissioners noted their preference was to restore the original siding if possible. The Hardy was okay with new additions. None of the commissioners present had a problem with removing the large tree in the front yard, as it did not look well. It was requested that another tree be planted in the front yard, as North 4th Street did not have many trees along the street. The replacement tree did not need to be a large maple or planted in the same location. Considering there are 2 additions, siding and those more modern additions be differentiated from the main body of the house, so they're evident. This would be required for a modern addition if somebody was putting this on now. Staff recommends approval with the clarification that the applicant submit a location type of tree to staff and restore the original siding. Mind you, I'm going to clarify this does not mean in those additions, because that's just awful, as well as submit paint chips prior to the issuance of their certificate. Basis for the staff recommendation is 3116.11, the standards for alteration, 2, 5, and 6. And I believe I saw we had our applicant.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so who do we have for this one for 1077?
Phil Chris.
Okay, great. Phil, will you raise your right hand and promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, great. So go ahead, Phil, with your comments.
First question I had for you is what we talked about in the meeting a week or 2 weeks ago. Restore the original siding. What exactly does that entail?
Staff, do you want to address that one?
We might be able to address it together. That would be the original portion of the house where the siding is still good. This would also include if there is any rotted or damaged siding, replacing it in like kind. So it would be some sort of wood, as well as making sure any of, well, I don't know. I know sometimes our contractors have done a lead removal. I don't know if they've ever just quite painted over it, but pretty much it is restoring that original siding kind of as close as possible to the original look as it would have, as well as giving it a new fresh paint coat.
Okay, because there was asbestos there as well. So, and on the double pitched roof side of the home, where the kitchen is, the original historical structure on the side where the 2 additions are, up in that attic, there was some charring. So we're basically going to have to tear that whole ceiling of the roof out and reframe it in, which we're going to do on the 2 additions as well, to do away with that rotted out fascia and be able to put shingles on it. So I'm wondering why and where or how to make that look cohesive if it's all on the same plane.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of issues that maybe would require just that particular portion of the applicant to be application to be continued until you can have staff kind of come out there and take a look at it with you. And maybe it won't be able to be saved. Would that be your recommendation, staff, is move forward on the rest of it?
Yes, although I would have to check with Jamie if I'm allowed to do site visits.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
forgot that's happening.
I think we'd all like to forget about the pandemic. It would certainly make things a lot easier if it wasn't here.
Sure.
See that front addition to the right of the window towards the original structure. I'm not sure exactly where it stops, but there was a lot of termite damage too, where the wall flexes in and out a foot to 16 inches. It's just gone.
Yeah, I mean, from these pictures, it certainly looks like you have some extensive damage. I just don't know if we can tell for certain. What's your opinion on that, staff?
Can we go back to that last page, Jacqueline? Yeah, it does look like there's some damage. Some of the wood does look okay. I mean, clearly the additions that are in red are just in awful condition.
And what we would like to do is to tear all of that down to the studs, resheet it, put a new vapor barrier on it, and then party board it, which party board makes the wood look siding as well, so it still have the wood look appearance to it.
And staff, you don't have an objection to that on the additions, or how? What was your take on that?
I don't have an objection to it on the addition, and if the original portion is in that bad of condition, I wouldn't object either. Clearly, we want to save what we can, but if it's past saving, I mean, it needs to be covered with something. And we have approved, we can approve the cedar siding.
Okay, so I guess maybe I'd suggest that that's one of those elements that we're going to have to maybe make contingent upon of staff approval or agreement with staff going forward. But let me, applicant, do you have anything else you want to say before we go around to the commissioners and see if they have any thoughts?
I don't believe so.
Okay, sounds good. Let me go around the horn then. Shannon?
I think my only comment on this application was about that siding just on the original structure specifically, not on the additions, but keeping that wood on the original structure. So I'm good to let staff kind of figure that out with the applicant. All
right, sounds good. Ben?
I think not having seen this at the business meeting, I think the new roof is a much better approach and willing to give the applicant some room on their renovation. I do think that sort of replacement of siding on the addition parts is completely, I support it completely. I do think that we should try very hard to restore any sort of siding on the original structure. But there are a couple of things I want to make sure on the radar. One is that there seem to be a lot of different window types and some kind of odd proportions. And I'm going to call out just for the record that window type W04 and 08 have a very squatty and squarish kind of quality, but they're not square. So on this elevation, the one on the left-hand side has at least kind of an odd proportion, and frankly, the one on the right does as well. But since we're on this sheet, it seems to me that the windows to the outside, both far left and far right, probably should match. So I would like to call that to the attention of the commissioners. If we can go to the elevation facing the street in this view. And these are good proportion windows, but on this front elevation, the primary window, which is apparently being moved to the credit of the applicant, is also has the opportunity to be replaced and be a more proportional, taller window that you might typically see on this, like a double stacked window. And likewise, the one in the porch area is really too big for that space. So it could be a smaller window, whether it's a 1/1 or something else. But and then finally, I wonder if there's any discussion about these thin spindles. It looks maybe like a steel kind of structure for the porch. It does seem to me that it would be more appropriate to have a wood type post and construction type for this simple gable and simple home. So I would look to see those kinds of things improved on this application. But want to say that I'm encouraged by what the applicant's done so far. And by the way, the taking down the tree and planting a new one is fantastic. So it is.
Okay, Lauren.
I agree with Commissioner Fergus's kind of wish for the replacement to be, or the wood to be maintained on the original structure. If it can't happen without seeing it, then I would this commissioner understand. And also thank you, Commissioner Goodman, for bringing up the windows. I agree with you on sizing. Consistent.
All right, Todd.
I think I would just echo everybody's comments. I think that the front porch addition is a nice element to this house and really helps solve some of the roofline issues that they've had to solve. So I think the direction is it's the right direction. But some of those porch details of a more sturdy, more substantial column, something definitely to address, as well as what Ben mentioned with the window proportions. Since you're tearing off and resheathing, you have the opportunity to do that, and that would just make this a much more appropriate little house. So that's it.
Okay. I don't think I have anything to add to those comments. Staff, hearing all that, what do you recommend is our best move at this point?
I can check with Jamie if I can go out on a site visit. I know Sarah did last week, and I know Connie's done a couple as well. So I just need to get the green light from him, because since I'm out in one of the suburbs, I'd be driving my car, which
Gotcha.
I think that might be okay, but I am kind of curious to go and see that siding. So we could always do it contingent either on a site visit or more photos, depending what I can clear.
That sounds good. And then what about the other issues, windows and whatnot?
Yeah, the windows did look a little bit weird. When I typically do an approval for windows, it's of course to the original, whatever the original size of the window is, which sometimes can get a little wonky with some of the additions, especially if they've been expanded.
Gotcha.
If I may, maybe we can
do you have
the roof line and things that are sort of bigger improvements, and wait for the siding and wait for different proposal for windows and porch details.
Okay, yeah, that could possibly work. Applicant, what are your thoughts on deferring the siding until the staff can come out and look at it, and then potentially taking another look at the window proportions to see if there's the opportunity to make those a little bit more vertical than the short ones they have now?
I just said that. I just wanted to keep them, I kept them as they currently are. This is my first time doing anything like this, so I didn't want to change too awful much. Just things that I knew needed to be changed to make it more structurally sound. So yeah, I didn't like how the windows looked either. I was just putting back what was already there. And as far as the railing goes on the deck, I had originally put in like a squared aluminum baluster, but in being this my third meeting, listening to prior discussions, talking about like wrought iron railing and stuff like that, I swapped it out for that, thinking that would be what you were looking for. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, so is somebody willing to make a motion then, deferring those two elements and talking about the railing? Ben, can you take a crack at it?
We're basically saying that we're going to defer porch details, window openings, and siding replacement, but approving the new roof line and tree demo and replanting.
Yeah, and we can make that contingent on staff, or they can come back. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's a lot there to make it all put on staff. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say on application 20-10-018, 1077 North 4th Street. I move to approve the application. Just for clarity, for understanding how they're going to rebuild the addition and the roof, but the applicant is to come back. Well, first of all, that the staff is to go on site, conditional on policy, to review the condition of existing siding for possible replacement. and that the applicant return to staff with window proposals that are more proportional to the home.
Okay.
And that the applicant come back to the commission with a more filled out porch design that includes a more sturdy wooden post in the corner and probably other wood details. But, the commission is open to options there.
Okay. Anyone?
Sure, I'll second. Is that what you're asking for, Jason?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay, let me take the roll then. Ben?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yeah.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so that motion carries. So work with staff and we'll see you in the future then.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. All right, moving on. Oops, I lost that window.
So
There
we're
it is.
circling back to number 6.
Okay, back to number 6.
Yes, it looks like
that is-
Manning has gotten his video to work. I just saw him.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Manning, did you can you state your name for?
Yes, my name is Manning Tarver.
Great, and do you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we already heard a little bit from, or Steph, did you go over this one yet? I can't recall.
Yes, I did.
You did. Oh yeah, about the bricks and whatnot. So
Yes.
Manning, turn it over to you to discuss the issues.
Yeah, so we had an issue. We needed to repair the parapet wall because we had a few of the layers to start crumbling and breaking apart. So we just need to replace the brick, but we was trying to get a color close enough. I sent 2 color matches in. I think the second color matches pretty much almost perfect, more kind of blend into the other one. So I figure we go with the second bricks I turned in and not the first ones I turned in.
Okay. So staff, do you know which ones those are?
Yes, those are the last photo. So
Okay, yeah,
page
that looks
6 in the
pretty good.
PDF.
And do you, yeah, I mean, from this picture, it looks pretty good. What do you think, staff?
I agree. And I'm going to confirm with Mr. Tarver. So the cleaner bricks are going to be the new bricks, and then the ones that look like it got a little bit of dirt and wear on them, those are the old bricks that have fallen.
Correct.
Sounds good. And then, let's see, where is this? Gotcha. And then this is now just for the building repair. That's correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, they should be back, I think, next month with the dumpster, which is the separate application.
Okay, sounds
Correct.
good. I'll go around and see who has some thoughts. Lauren, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, 2 different brick samples in the last photos. Because it looks like one of the photos has really, really light bricks comparatively, and then one of them is fairly close.
This one is the newer brick that we're talking about today.
Okay.
This one that's up on the screen now.
I don't have an issue with that. It seems to be compatible, comparable.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the application? No. Okay. Ben?
So on that photo that's shown right now, the top ones are actually the new bricks?
I believe that's
Correct.
accurate. Yes, Steph? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I believe the one that's all the way to the right is one of the older bricks, but the bricks that are kind of to the left and then the ones stacked on top are the new ones.
Right. Yeah, I think it's about as good a match as we can expect. So I'm supportive of that material. Is this application just about the parapet repairs? Has nothing to do with the other site work that we had talked about with this address before?
Correct. Yeah, they're actually separate addresses for whatever reason. The dumpster was item number 5. They withdrew it to work on some stuff. So as I've said, we should see it next month.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So given what I just now heard, and I support the application, and I'm assuming that the mason knows how to recreate those corbels and the whole detail of the parapet.
Correct.
Excellent.
And then let's see.
Oh, hey, Justin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are we getting the tile parapet cap, the terracotta? We haven't talked about that. Manny?
On top.
Towel cap. The towel caps would be the original towel caps that was already there. There's nothing wrong with the towel caps.
Okay, great. That's perfect. Okay, Todd.
Yeah, I think that last brick is probably as close as we can get. I mean, brick matching is really difficult to do. I am a little concerned that the dimensions are also much different than the original bricks. So I just want to verify that the new ones are just going to kind of be put in randomly as needed versus a section of it as new, so that it can kind of bring back some of the variation in the brick and it doesn't look like a big patch job, considering they're also different dimensions and different colors.
No,
you know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That's really my only comment.
Okay. No, you are correct. So the original brick are much longer, but as we stack the bricks and put the bricks in, you will not be able to tell.
Okay.
And we just put in the newer bricks in places we need them. We still have a whole bunch of the old brick left, but the bricks that have crumbled, we just need to add some new ones to make the wall all the way come together. But you will not be able to tell. It's gonna look like a patch job. It's gonna, look like it belongs there. Definitely.
Perfect.
That's great.
Perfect.
Thank you. Shannon, do you have any comments?
Nope, that covered everything for me.
I don't have any other comments either. That sounds good. Can I have a motion for this one?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve application 20-10-017, 953 979 North 4th, to approve the application as submitted, with the note that we're approving the brick sample that was submitted on the last page of the application. Is that a specific enough?
Is that good enough, staff? Yeah, okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
I second, also just adding that we understand that the tile parapet caps are going to be reused or replaced or be there at the end of the project.
Accept that, Todd, as your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I will call the roll. Todd?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. All right, great. Thanks. Hey, thanks for grabbing that WebEx app for us, Manning. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Number 8, which is 20-10-019. Over to you, staff.
Right, this is 750 North High Street. The proposed application is to remove the existing wall mount and projecting sign for the Poindexter Coffee, to install new raceway mount with the exposed neon channel letters per the submitted documentation. Proposed sign measures 1 foot 6.5 inches high by 9 foot 8 3/4 inches wide, and would be installed at 14 feet to grade from the bottom of the letters. The commissioners at the business meeting thought that the trophy room script should fit inside the brick motif and recommended scaling down the sign. Commissioners wanted to know where the neon was in the design and wanted to make sure that this was not a sign with a face panel. The applicant clarified trophy room is the same type of business as Poindexter Coffee. The change is meant to provide some uniformity across their portfolio. The applicant rescaled the sign on the elevation. It was previously a bit off. There are 9 bricks between the motif with approximately 25 inches vertically. The applicant also clarified the proposed are open-faced neon channel letters. There is no face. They have noted where the actual channel letters are and where the neon is. The night view shows how the letters would look at night with only the neon illuminating. Revised documents are included in the materials. Staff recommends approval of the revised documentation as submitted with any condition provided by the commission, including stating that no blade sign is being proposed in this location, which remember that was something that David requested. Basis for the recommendation is the short north guidelines signage.
Okay, sounds good. Who's the applicant?
Woody, it's me. You hear me?
Okay.
Yes,
Just
we
you
can,
now.
Woody.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Woody. Will you state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, Woody Fellinger.
And will you raise your right hand and promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability in your testimony this evening?
I do.
Okay, great. Over to you.
So Kimberly pretty much laid it out pretty well. The last rendering she showed you, that one is actually a little bit off. The previous one, as far as scale is concerned, the letters will fit within the brick motif. And if you need me to, I can resend one to Kimberly because I actually revised it. There are 9 bricks, which, average, 2.5 inches plus the mortar joint. So that's roughly 24 3/4, 25 inches vertically. So the letters will fit fine within the brick motif. Square footage is actually less than what was up there before. They're open face channel letters. Can you scroll down just a little bit? Show the detail. So it's a 5-inch deep can with no faces and exposed neon mounted to a raceway. It's pretty standard. And then the inside of the can will be painted to match a PMS color, Sherman-Williams, and the night view will look like the trophy room skeleton neon. So it all fits within historic district code as far as square footage and everything else. So that's pretty much it.
Sounds good. Staff, any thoughts on any of those elements that were mentioned before we dive into the commissioners?
No, feel free to dive into commentary.
Okay, sounds good. Ben, you want to start?
Yeah, I think it's fine. The only thing is, Woody, if you could just make sure that your field staff knows to mount the raceway into mortar joints as opposed to into brick. We often
I can do that, yes.
get that miscommunication. So otherwise, I think this is a winning application.
Okay, Lauren?
I agree with Commissioner Goodman. Is this the only signage that you're going to have? So you are taking the signage that comes into the walkway?
Project mount sign? Yes.
And you're not
So if they want to go for another signage, we will have to go through the whole thing all over again.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Shannon?
Yeah, now that it's been rescaled, I have nothing to add.
Good. Tom?
Yeah, I like all the modifications. So looks good to me.
Okay, and I don't really have any comments either. So can I have a motion?
I'll take that motion. I move to approve 20-10-019 750 North High Street signage that shows a change scale and exposed neon and will be mounted in the mortar of the bricks.
Okay, sounds good. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Ben?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Shannon?
Sorry. Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. All right, thanks a lot. Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. On to the next one. Now we're at number 9, 20-10-20.
All right, this is 1081 North 4th Street. For the proposed work, the original siding does remain in good condition, but the owner has cited cost for restoration for installation of the hardy, which I'll let the applicant and the homeowner explain that. The application includes removal and disposing of the existing soffit and fascia installation, which since I had everything finalized, I can't go back and revise everything the day before. So I have forwarded all of that specifications to you guys. So I don't have the details right in front of me because my email is not cooperating with me. But I will leave it to the applicant to explain a little bit more. I think that what they're proposing with the wood is pretty similar to what we have with the hardy. The commissioners at the business meeting noted.
All right. Let's,
What was that, Jason?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. The commissioners at the business meeting noted the cost for restoration of the siding is not a reason for a certificate, meaning it wasn't a reason to cover it with the hardy as opposed to restoring it. Commissioners noted that they require the original reveal to be matched when the original siding cannot be replaced, and that the different reveal proposed would be a non-starter. The previous approval allowed for the restoration of the existing siding as it did remain in good condition. And I will note that since the original siding is in good condition, the recommendation goes for both the hardy and for the wood. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the original siding be restored to its original condition, or denial based on City Code 3116.11 if that siding cannot be restored and maintained. The standards for alteration that I'm noting, including the distinguishing characteristics of the property should not be destroyed. The distinctive stylistic features and examples of craftsmanship should be treated with sensitivity, and the deteriorated architectural features should be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible. As well as, of course, the Italian Village Guidelines, body of the house, wood siding. And I believe we have our applicants here who could explain things in a little bit more detail from their side.
Okay, so the applicants, who do we have on today?
I see we've got Michael Young here.
Excellent.
Do we have your contractor here as well?
Yeah, Josh should be on.
Great. Let's see.
Is he one of the people who called in?
I think so. I just saw a photo pop up.
Got him. Okay, great. So, Michael, will you raise your right hand and state your name for the record? Michael, if we could start with you.
Michael Young.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, and Josh, if you'll give your name.
Sure, Josh Matzinger.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon as well?
I do.
Okay, great. So over to you both. You've heard the staff report, so fill us in.
Yeah. So originally, the siding that was on the house originally was vinyl with asbestos underneath, and portions of it have been pulled away. So we proposed originally to do a lead abatement of the paint on the original siding once once all of the asbestos was pulled off. Essentially, to do a combination of lead abatement and then remove majority of the deteriorated siding, as Michael stated, it will cost inhibitive. So we proposed James Hardy siding, the lap siding. Of course, James Hardy lap siding doesn't have a profile that's a double 2.5-inch Dutch lap. So in place of the James Hardy siding, to match the historic guidelines, we're proposing that we replace the Dutch lap siding with Dutch lap siding, wood Dutch lap siding, to match the existing profile.
Okay. Michael, other thoughts you want to share with us?
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of going along with Josh. I just say, I'm with you guys. Like, I want to do what looks right for the historical profile of the house that we were going through. And really, I just, kind of want to get this moving so that, you know, like it can look nice again, because kind of, you know, it looks like I'm living in an abandoned house right now. So but yeah, I just like want something to look nice, look appropriate, and I think that us going to wood and, you know, and getting the wood siding on there, you know, will look, it will be like the pretty much the exact same material, minus it's not over 100 years old. So
All right, I'll go through the commissioners and get some thoughts. Shannon, do you want to start?
I'm not supportive of the wood or the new wood or the hardy. I think that now that the asbestos has been taken off, I think it would have been different if the asbestos had stayed on. You know, wrapping that asbestos, so not having to remediate it. But now that it's off, and the wood does look in really good condition, I just think, in fairness to all other, you know, applicants that have asked the same question of us, I feel that, you know, we need to deny this request.
Okay, go over to Todd.
This is a hard one. I think I would be in support of them replacing like for like. I mean, we do that when windows are beyond repair. There's a lot of the siding that they're going to have to replace, and they're going to replace it with wood siding, the Dutch lap. So I'm actually in favor in this specific instance that if they're going to replace like for like, real wood, same profile, everything, then I could support the replacement with the wood siding.
Okay, Lauren.
And wanting to save money, I get that, but I mean, it's a historic commission, so it's hard for me to say fix it when you can. That said, I also agree with Commissioner Boyer's like for like. I want to be sure that it's not replacing for like. You are saving what you can.
Okay,
that's it.
And Ben.
Yeah, it is vexing. One thing I didn't understand is it are we to understand that it would require a whole lead paint abatement program to get this this renovation going with its original siding?
yes, Josh, you could probably speak to it, but it's like because of my I think specifically because I'm right next to the brewery and across from the Bud Dairy, it's like going to be a special abatement that's I mean, I know cost is not an issue, but it's like exponentially more than what a regular abatement would be, I guess. But Josh, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So do it so lead abatement, which our company doesn't do. We actually do, like our actual company, we would work through CertaPro painters to do the lead abatement. But to do the lead abatement, the difference between the lead safe removal and the lead abatement is getting all the original paint off of the house. So you can encapsulate the lead, so you can paint over the top of it. The issue is it doesn't give a uniform appearance. So in order to get a uniform appearance and to get all the original paint stripped off the house, that would be the abatement, and that would be where the as Mike said, the exorbitant cost is.
All right, so we have that, which is definitely a contributing factor to our decision, I would think. The other thing that pops out to me is just this, some of these. So is the front window on the first floor, is that going to be replaced with anything? Has that been seen by anybody?
So yes, we have received approval.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's we're going with a cottage window that was approved. That was actually recently approved to match the original opening.
to match the regional opening. Okay.
Correct. We're replacing the windows with Marvin wood clad windows, Marvin Ultimate. The window on the left elevation, I believe that's the window that's up in the picture. We're also going to match that with the. We're going to go to the original opening as well.
Well, I don't mean to complicate things, but it just seems to me like there are opportunities on some of the mass of the house to just use the to work with the existing siding, and I can totally see covering certain areas where it's just going to be problematic. So you know, I guess it surprises me that you can't just paint it. Uh, if it's a homeowner decision to have kind of a ruddy texture, then I think that the commission would reply, that's okay. It's just part of a historic home. That, you know, if the to get it smooth is what's creating the high cost, then that can be done. So I guess I'm inclined to say that you need to try to your best to restore the existing siding, and I would support removing or covering certain the siding of certain portions of the house. Certainly, the portion on the back, and you might even use some of that rear structure as kind of a salvage place um, for some of the existing siding. And I would totally support that being any siding, hardy board and any other kind of, because it could be rationalized as, you know, that picture right there showing that addition could be rationalized as an addition and some other form of surface treatment. So I think I'm mostly in the camp of restoring existing siding, paint it, and try your best to feel proud of the kind of ruddy finish that you're going to get.
Okay, I think I'm the only one left. Yeah, I mean, I think the restoration is clearly preferable. I do understand the difficulty of the circumstance, which makes me feel Todd's approach is something I might be a little more able to support with replacement, at least in specific areas. That being said, it would have to be the same profile. I think that's the most important thing, is not to get away from the profile what you have out there right now. So that's where I am with that. Staff, do you have anything else before we keep going through the discussion with the applicant?
No, you guys have all said it really well so far, so I'll leave it to you guys to continue.
Okay, so back to the applicant. What are your thoughts, having heard those comments kind of going around the horn from all of us?
Go, Josh. Yeah.
I essentially would defer to to Michael as his home. There's different routes that we've proposed. Understanding, yes, it is a historical home, but also understanding what would go into getting the house to, I guess, the specifications that the homeowner's requesting, and cost isn't a factor. Of course, as a contractor, I want to make the homeowner happy. I want to make the commission happy. I want to make sure we do a proper repair. So for us, obviously, we would, it would be nice to save as much wood as possible, but also understanding the appearance from just from a lead safe removal of damaged siding, and then some of the issues that we would face painting it. So, but I would say it's Michael's opinion is probably weighs a little heavier, because quite frankly, I'm just the person doing the work. He's the person who has to write the check, live in the house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for replacing what we can. Just know that the south facing, like what's in the picture right now, all of that wood has to be replaced, because all of that wood is damaged. And then the opposite side of the house, all of that would need replaced, just like one of the commissioners had mentioned. And the only places that don't need to be replaced is the front of the house, along the porch, and the addition in the back. And then, you know, like he was saying, you know, it will have that ruddy appearance, which is something that I can live with. But you know, I just also just want to make sure that like this is that, you know, it ultimately just like looks nice. I just the full lid abatement thing is just something I cannot afford. So like that's just something I can't do. And it's
Could you do the like for like siding? Is it replacement siding?
I can, yeah, like for I was for I you know, I think what Josh proposed was the like for like siding where we replace the like for like, you know, siding on the house, and just, you know, essentially my goal is just like, you know, it's going to be an old house and try to match that, you know, historical profile that you guys want, but make it look that it's like newer and that it will last over time.
Like a classic car.
So, is there a motion anyone is willing to attempt that kind of fashions in the ability to use like for like wood siding on portions of the areas that are not salvageable, or at least we don't feel could be based on this set of circumstances?
I have a question, Chair. When they're talking about replacing like for like, before I thought that there was going to be just a new layer of siding over the old. Is this actually removing and replacing with like for like?
So, Josh, can you answer that?
Yeah. So realistically, from a cost perspective, there would be a little bit of saving if we went over the top, but it's to be fair, I guess it wouldn't be a substantial saving. Obviously, it's up to Michael to ultimately make the decision. But one of the ways that that I looked at it creatively to keep the cost in line was to go over the original siding with the same exact style siding, knowing that we're replacing the windows with windows. From a cost saving standpoint, it aired more in favor of the homeowner doing it that way. From a contractor standpoint, and obviously being creative on my end in terms of getting the cost down, I would have, if obviously it's up to the homeowner, but I would have no issue whatsoever if my wanted to move forward with pulling the damaged areas out. We would just have to, I guess, to take a harder look again at the how we could get some cost savings going.
Yeah.
And you would fabricate new trim around the windows and aprons and all that if you did an overlay.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice.
Same outside, 6-inch outside corner, 4-inch trim around the windows, making historical specifications. Everything would match appropriate historical specifications.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm having a hard time establishing what the priorities are. I definitely think that it would be appropriate for some portions of this house to be restored as with its existing surfaces. But that said, I think it's inappropriate for us to put undue hardship, financial hardship through, by way of a lead abatement program. So if my support or not hinges on whether a full lead abatement is totally necessary or not. So it's, in other words, if it's not, then we should try our best to patch in if it's going to be required, then we should look at some sort of staged replacement or overlap of the with brand new material.
Are there specific information that you'd need in order to feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I guess for me, I just want to know if a full-blown lead abatement program is what would be required by the city of Columbus.
So by the city of Columbus, no. To clarify, the lead abatement would be to remove the existing layers of paint. So essentially, the multiple layers of paint that are on the house, in order to get all of the paint off, we would have to do a lead abatement in order to provide a smooth surface, so that it would basically bring the visual appearance back to new or fully restored, which is what Michael's primary goal was initially.
Gotcha. But if you painted over it, you wouldn't have to do that.
Correct. If you painting over it, yeah, encapsulating it, you would not. That's correct. Basically the difference would be painting over it, you would see the ridges in the paint. That's the primary difference.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I will say one advantage you have is that in a lot of cases, not a whole lot of paint left.
Right.
So, okay. So, staff, do you have any recommendations for us on this one? As how we can move forward?
So I hate to recommend it, but I think denial might be our best recommendation. That way Ben can get everything that he's stating. So not to freak our applicant out, what the denial would be is they deny the application because we're saying that the commission wants things restored. Part of the denial appeals process, which I'll send you everything, and you've got 10 days from when you get it to file an appeal, includes financial hardship. So you could appeal on the financial hardship as part of that lead abatement thing. And we could also check if it does need to be abated, or if we could come to another sort of agreement of either how to remove that lead paint or painting over, or something that makes everybody happy. But denial might be our best bet. And I mean, I don't like things getting denied.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that from the applicant side.
So to make sure I'm stating this properly, that lead abatement is not necessary in order to restore the siding, if that makes sense. In order to restore the siding to the original appearance, you would have to do lead abatement. So in order to remove the paint and to do it properly so that there are no ridges in the paint, so from a visual appearance standpoint, you would have to abate it.
And I think we got it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. Yeah. Because restoring the siding, repairing the siding, does not require lead abatement. Replacing, the areas that you can see in the photos where they're visibly damaged and there's not a way to salvage it, that does not require abatement. And that would fall within the constraints of the cost proposal that we put forward with the James Hardy.
Okay, gotcha. And which could be a considerable part, but we're not talking about Hardy. I think what we're saying is, what can we do with wood?
Right. And what I'm saying is the cost would fall in line with
gotcha.
With the cost for the James Hardy. If we were taking out the lead abatement portion for the portions of the siding that we're not replacing.
Makes sense. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so having heard all that, anyone out there dare to dive into an application? Yeah, man.
I'm going to. I think this really has choices. We can approve it as is, where we're probably looking at a denial, or with the at least partial nod from the applicant. I'll make a motion that says restore the siding as is without lead abatement, or we'll just say restore the siding as is, and that hopefully they can reconcile the not having to do a lead abatement. So if the applicant is okay, and I'm asking you, applicant, with the idea of restoring the existing siding by painting over it, then I'm going to make my motion to support that idea. If not, we're going to probably end up denying the application as it's been written today.
So what would you like to go?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
To clarify, so painting over, does that include replacing the damaged siding?
Yes.
Okay.
With like for like wood.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yeah, I mean, of course, that would be Michael would have to, I guess, it would be his response, not mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the south and the north side of the house is going to have to be torn off and replaced like for like. Anyways, so that's going to pretty much bring about the smooth appearance that we were talking about and keep the profile. And then like I said, and then there's small portions of the front of the house that would need to be taken off and replaced like for like. And then the back of the house doesn't even have the same siding on it. There's one addition in the back north east side of the house that would just have to have the like for like siding replaced over top of it as well. I think that there's there's at least three sides of the house that are going to have to be completely replaced, and then the rest of the house that doesn't need to replace, I'm fine with painting over it, as long as it looks as long as we don't have to basically abate the lead off. The whole process is like the $90,000 it would take to like strip the paint off of the wood.
Right.
Is good that that doesn't need replaced.
Well, Mr. Chair, I gets into a whole other middle muddy ground that I'm not sure I have a handle on, so that requires staff review. So
I think we can defer that to staff if they're okay with that. Would that work, staff?
Yes, it would.
Or what actually can't get replaced?
Yeah, if I need to go do a site visit, I'll add it to the list of places I need to visit when I come down.
Okay.
So that'll be contingent on if I can get approval, come do a site visit.
So the way I would craft the motion is that that on this application, we understand that the applicant is willing to restore a predominant amount of the siding as is, and that staff will work with the applicant to allow certain replacement like for like with new material profile. That's my understanding, and that's the way I'm crafting the motion. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue on as if that was the motion, and say I'm just going to say it as part of the motion is that that staff may allow the applicant to recover material from certain portions of the home, historic materials, and put it on other portions of the home, and or other kinds of solutions that allow a sort of mitigated approach to the restoration of this house.
Okay, can I have a second?
Sure, I will second, Jason.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to call the roll. Staff, any other thoughts on that before I call the roll?
Nope. I do want to know, Brooke joined us at about 5:27.
About that, Brooke?
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so let me call the roll. Ben?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
And Jason. Okay, so that carries. Okay, so work with staff and we'll get it figured out, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, back on here. We are at 20-10-21.
Right, this is 851 North 4th Street. The proposed work includes the addition of a 300 square foot seasonal patio and parking space on the west side of the building. Patio would be redesigned to include 2 of the parking spaces. Variants include the R4 residential district, the aisle, driveway, minimum numbers of parking spaces required, to reduce the current lot width from the 50 feet to the 32 feet fronting North 4th Street, and the R4 area district requirements, as well as setback requirements. The approval for zoning the COA 17-4-11 does clearly state that the loading zone was approved for just that purpose only. The area was not to be used for vehicular parking or for a restaurant, retail, patio. Previous COA 17-1-13 also included the material contains the previously approved patio. Commissioners at the business meeting noted that 851 North 4th Street is currently using that space as a patio. It is visible in the submitted photographs. There was concern that using the back patio, which butts up against the neighborhood, would bring the lighting and business back into that residential area. Staff recommends approval of the application with the clarification that no parking be involved. The patio would be allowable due to the COVID-19 conditions and that the original loading zone remain. And basis for that is the Short North Design Guidelines, commercial patios, and outdoor dining.
Okay. I'm just trying to.
Kim, who is the applicant on this?
Yeah,
It should
I'm
be
gonna have to abstain. Oops. I'm gonna have to abstain for this one for proximity.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Okay, so
Wait, hold on. Dave, did you call into? Because your audio is not working.
He's unmuted, but
I see, but do you also use the phone? Because some people do call in and then they have their pitch up. And it's really hard if you're on the phone to unmute it if you don't unmute it. Lillian can speak to this because I did mute her for almost an entire meeting the one time. So let's see if we can't get Mr. Perry. Right. Okay, I know we've got one person who called in. Dave, can you give it a quick try? Did that do anything? No. We can see you. We just can't hear you. And we do need you to be able to talk.
Were there opposing views on this application in the business meeting?
There was a little concern from.
I am unmuted.
Yes, Dave. We know we still can't hear you though.
And David was a little concerned about a patio in a residential area. I didn't realize that this patio hadn't already been approved, so I was fine with it.
Kim, I do have a question. I wasn't at the business meeting, but I'm confused on the idea that we approved it, the loading zone and all that kind of stuff, stating that it could not be a patio?
Yes, it was also specifically told to us, and by us, I mean the commission, that it was not going to be used as that. But I mean, Dave can talk a little bit more on that. We just can't hear him. So.
Okay, but that was just the old application. We could choose to reverse that.
Yes,
That's part of it. Okay.
With COVID, everything's a little bit different now. I just wouldn't support the parking in back. I think we should still have a loading zone. And Dave, if you want to try logging off and then logging back in, I know I used to have issues with not telling my computer that I was using its audio because it popped up behind stuff.
Or he can call in on his phone.
Yes. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, and if we could, or you could do that. But
Well, just to sort of fill in some dead airspace here. I think that in some ways there's some similarity in this kind of proposal and the various kinds of rooftop proposals we see when you get a lot of rooftop or patio space adjacent to a residential area, that maybe we just raise the bar a little bit with walls and or overhead canopies and things like that to help suppress noise. And that's the way it can sort of coexist with residential neighborhoods.
Kimberly, I'm on my mobile now. Is that working?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Thank you for calling in.
Okay. Yeah, that WebEx connection was not working on the audio, apparently.
That's not good.
Perfect. So Dave, since we've got you, let's just go through the motions. Can you state your name for the record?
Sure. Dave Perry here on behalf of the property owner and Woodhouse Vegan, the tenant, the restaurant tenant at the property.
All right, perfect. Do you, if you wouldn't mind raising your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do, absolutely.
All right, perfect. Why don't you add kind of some more information for us on this application?
Sure. 2017, there was a variance for this property. The building was in very poor condition. There was a variance for the property for about a 1,000 square foot, very small ground floor restaurant use and 2 second floor apartments. And that variance ordinance was conditioned on a site plan that shows some landscaping along the East First Avenue frontage of the rear and some fencing, and the brick paver area was called loading space. So the restaurant, fast forwarding to 2020, the restaurant is there, the apartments are there, and restaurants are dying right now without patio space because of COVID. And also bigger, longer term issue is restaurants have to have area for smokers outside and so on. And a lot of us like to eat outside when it's nice out. So what this variance application does is simply change the site plan that was a condition of the 2017 ordinance. The variances that Kimberly read are all the same variances. They're just being repeated. They have to be repeated because it's a new variance application for the same property. But there's no change in the variance citations. What is changing is the site plan. Also, what has happened since 2017 is the Short North Parking District has taken effect, and Woodhouse Vegan proposes a 300 square foot patio, which requires 1 parking space under the city code. The ramifications of requiring that space is $20,000 for a small restaurant use. So we've worked on a site plan that provides the 1 parking space and the patio, the 300 square foot patio for Woodhouse Vegan. And that's there you go. Thank you, Kimberly. That's the proposed site plan with the patio. It has the same screening along East First. It has the same fencing and landscaping along the south property line. But the purpose of this application is not new variances, but simply to change the site plan to allow Woodhouse Vegan to have the patio.
Okay, perfect. All right, then let's go through and get some commissioner comments. Shannon, can you start us off?
Yes, I think with COVID, with everything going on, that I think that this is I would move to recommend these variances. I also just know in 2017, I truly thought that what we were approving was a patio. So I don't know if that helps at all, but that I wasn't aware that this wasn't already approved.
Okay.
Support it being approved.
All right, perfect. Lauren, any thoughts?
I echo Commissioner Fergus's opinion on the patio, given the climate. However, I want to be mindful of the neighborhood too, and make sure that there's some sort of infrastructure in place to mitigate noise and and that sort of thing.
Ben.
Well, I'm kind of aligning with Lauren that I just think that first of all, I'm not sure that there is a privacy fence on the west side of the property. I can't tell from the photographs, but I would support this if we could get make sure there's a fence there at least, and request that some sort of plantings are available in the spaces for the south so that it can absorb sound. I would also be supportive of some sort of pergola or canopy element on this backspace area to help suppress sound. I guess feel a little queasy about supporting the variances or the change of use without some of these solutions also implemented. So I guess at the moment I'm a no until I know for sure what those hardscape solutions might be.
Okay. Brooke, anything to add?
Not really. I think I would agree with Commissioner Fergus. However, I do think there needs to be more detail. I like the idea that Commissioner Goodman had with the canopy, something to muffle sound. Also, I think it's important to understand what the lighting solutions would be. I guess conceptually, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think I agree. Conceptually, I don't really have any issues with it, and would probably be willing to go along with it if, with the stipulation that the patio is to only remain in that 300 square foot area until they came back with some solutions for sound mitigation, light mitigation, that kind of stuff. But those are my thoughts. Dave, was there any thoughts or any discussions with your client concerning sound or lighting that might happen as part of this patio?
Well, a couple things. Remember, this is only a 1,000 square foot tenant space for the restaurant, and that's worlds of difference. For example, between this location and the restaurants on North High Street. The fence in the picture that's on the screen, there is a fence along the south property line. The site plan requires some planting. If it's not there, it will be. I don't. Is there a photo, Kimberly, of looking west?
I do not recall. Jacqueline's actually the one navigating the PDF, so she's looking at the moment.
I can commit to a fence along the west property line, obviously subject to the commission approval. The pergola or porch or some kind of structure, I would need to discuss with the restaurant owner and the property owner, but I believe the south fence is there. The landscaping is required along the south property line if it's not already there. And I can commit to the fence along the west property line. This is a seasonal use. I mean, at best in Columbus, Ohio, patios are a 5 month a year use, and it's and of that, there are certain days where weather or rain or so on prevents the use of the patio. I would be this needs to go to council to change the site plan, and then obviously the patio approval would have to come back to the commission. I can't commit to a roof or pergola at this time, but otherwise, could the commission proceed with the condition about the privacy fence on the west side and the south side? The south side, I believe, is already there, and the landscaping.
Does anybody have any thoughts on Dave's commitment?
Well, if we approve that, we're never going to see anything beyond. So I guess I'm not supporting it at the moment. I hoped others might, but and I certainly feel for the restaurant.
Anybody else? I mean, it meets Dave's commitment. Puts me in support of this application for what it's worth. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts or is willing to make a motion.
I'm in support as well with that commitment.
So would that commitment be a part of the motion? You would come back with some sort of structure.
Yes, it has to come back because the patio requires a site compliance plan approval with the city of Columbus for a new approved site plan. So it will have to come back to the commission just procedurally in terms of obtaining a permit for the patio with the city.
I see.
And yeah, I moved to we have to be more specific now, to move application IV 2010-021 with the noted additions, which is what, just the fence on the southern side of the patio.
I'll second
Is there
that.
anything else I'm missing?
Okay,
Second.
we have a second. All right, perfect. Then I'll do roll call. Shannon?
Yeah.
Ben?
Yes.
Jason abstain. Lauren? Brooke?
Yes.
I am also a yes, so the motion carries. All right. Thank you, Dave.
Very good. Thank you.
All righty.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dave is here for the next one, and I also have to abstain from that one. So I'll just let you keep rolling.
All right. I'm
Okay.
going to note that it is almost 6, and 6 is technically our cutoff. So are all commissioners okay to keep going? All right. I see Jason and Todd are. All right, so let's try that again. By show of thumbs, who's okay to keep going? Awesome, thank you. I say we get through this next one and then take a quick break if that's okay, like 1 to 2 minutes. But we are making fairly good time and we only have 5 more left, so let's keep on rolling with 875 North 4th Street. This is for a variance recommendation, and Dave actually explained this a lot better than I did at the business meeting, but it's for the C4 permitted uses, maneuvering, area district, lot width requirements, area district requirements, building lines, maximum and minimum side yards permitted. And the commissioners at the business meeting were in favor of the variances. Staff recommends approval as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of certificate. HPO does recommend that a property's use be updated if the use is changed. In this case, the entire 875 North 4th Street area is zoned commercial, including the portion which contains 889 North 4th Street, which is going to be reconstructed as a house. And I'm going to hand it over to Dave if you'd like to add any more.
Sure, just briefly, let's, Jackie, if you'd go back to the pictures and the site plan, please. Okay, so, well, let's go to the site plan. Yep, keep going.
There's a slightly more detailed one in there that I think you're looking for.
There, yeah, there we go. Yep, that's it. Okay, so commissioners, in 2017, this property went through rezoning to permit at that time, the corner building at First and North Fourth that has now been built to permit the middle building, former auto body facility, I think, for change of use to restaurant and or retail. That's the middle building. And at that time, there was a house on the sub-area 3 of the rezoning. It was sub-area 1, sub-area 2, and sub-area 3 moving north from First Avenue. And it had there was a house there. There was a proposal to change the use of that to office. And then fast forwarding, which I wasn't involved with the commission, but the commission approved the demolition of that house because of the condition. So the reason this zoning application has been made is to rezone sub areas 1 and 2, the building at 4th and First and the middle building from CPD to CPD to restate the same requirements of the 2017 zoning, and to take the north parcel out of the CPD and change that to R2F residential, because the commission motion with the demolition was to replace what was there with a residential structure. So the proposal is a 2-family dwelling. My understanding is that the commission has reviewed renderings of that building and is aware of this proposal. So now I'm coming along with the application to execute what the commission has reviewed. Is my understanding that north parcel will be zoned R2F with this application, and there is a variance application also for related variances to the 2-family and to repeat the variances that were included in the 2017 commercial plan development. So that's the corner building and the middle building are existing. Likens Companies has completed the renovation of them, and then Likens Companies and their architect would be back for the C of A for the 2-family building, advanced obviously beyond the renderings.
Okay, perfect. Anybody have any additional thoughts? Shannon, any thoughts?
I'm good with this.
Okay. All right, Ben?
It seems, I think I understand everything, and it seems like an appropriate thing to support.
Warren?
I have nothing to add.
Okay, Brooke?
Seems fine to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Seems like something we should recommend. Is anybody willing to make a motion for recommendation?
I'll attempt that. Move on application 2010-022 875 North Street to support a recommendation for the applicant's proposed variances. Variance language.
All right. Is there a second? Okay, perfect. All right, I'll go through the roll. Shannon?
Yeah.
Ben?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, so the recommendation carries.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioners. Sorry for the difficulty with the audio.
No problem. Thank you, Dave. Okay. We're taking a break.
Can we take a quick break then?
Yes, please.
All right, 2-minute break. Looks like we got almost everybody.
I know that restoration on North 4th Street was a little painful and long, but to me, that's the project we're here for. So I thought it was worthwhile to spend that extra time. I don't know how you feel.
Hey, we made up for it with some other ones being shorter. It fit into our quote, or what? Not quota. What's the word I'm looking for? In our allocated time frame. So
We haven't quite finished yet. We still have a couple more to go.
oh, I hear you. Okay, here we go. Let's get rolling. So back to the action. It's IV-20-10-023.
Right. This is 1152 Summit Street, also previously reviewed as 1156 Summit. The proposed work is conceptual. So this is to combine lots into a single lot so that the garage won't cross a lot line. As per the submitted documentation, variances we're looking at include allowing 3 single-family residences on a single lot in our 4 district. That would happen if we combined the lots for the lot size, the fronting, minimum side yards, rear yard, and side yard. The March 10th, 2020 meeting minutes included commissioner comments for the justification of the demolition because so much of the original structure had been replaced over time and it is built a legitimate foundation. But it was noted that the replacement would need to look similar. From the November 18, 2019 IVC meeting, the commissioner comments included that I believe there is a tree on one of the lots that needs to be planted in an area in the yard where it can successfully root. Where the tree is currently located wasn't ideal. Commissioners requested that a future tree be a minimum of a 3-inch caliber tree. Staff recommendation, commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for a future hearing. Basis for the recommendation are 1316.12 standards for new construction.
Hey, David, my thing was not plugged in.
I believe we'll just have to wait 1 second for Julie.
all right, back. Okay, Julie, you're on. Can you state your name for the record?
Yep.
Perfect timing. On you, Julie.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, do you want to state your name for the record?
Juliet Bullock.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening.
I do.
Okay, great. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. So we went back and forth a little bit with the zoning on this one, and the best way to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, which was a single-family home front, and then a carriage house in the back. And parking was a big issue with this property. So basically, we worked a little bit with the city, and there's some as to whether it should be 2 lots or 1 lot. It became kind of a building code issue. We don't really have room on a single lot to do a 2-car garage without running into a lot of building code issues regarding proximity to property line and things like that. So it was staff's recommendation, and we thought it made sense as well, that rather than having 2 separate lots, that we combine the lots so that we're able to do the garage structure in the back and avoid all the building code issues and get the 4 parking spaces on site. So that's, other than that, it really didn't, the fact that it's 1 lot instead of 2, it's not very impactful in terms of the variances, but it was very impactful in terms of how we lay out the garage. The variances are pretty typical for this area. You know, the lot size, we're actually pretty close with the double lot, and having the carriage house on the alley, the minimum side yard for the existing home, and then of course the rear yard. And then there's also another variance regarding whenever you have a parking space next to a garage and not behind a garage, that's a side yard variance as well. We're proposing a fairly modest single family home in the front of the property. I think about 1,800 square feet, something like that total. I mean, just trying to keep in scale with the home that's next door. I don't know if she's sharing any content yet.
Jacqueline's having some issues connecting,
Okay.
so she's working on trying to share.
I've had my computer almost die and my internet died, so I'm on a hotspot. So
I think everyone's having issues with technology.
Yeah. So that's what we're proposing. I don't know if we can get the. I did a little streetscape yesterday. I thought it might be helpful for you to kind of see the scale of the house that we were proposing. But maybe I don't know, you have copies of everything anyways, and maybe we could talk while she gets the video up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think most people have it up, probably.
Okay. I mean, I can see it here.
Do you have anything else that you want to specifically share, Julie, or do you want us to start kind of making comments as we're going around and we're working to get that video up, or what do you think?
It just went out again. Not until we have the drawings up there. I don't feel like I can. I mean, I think it's a fairly modest footprint. We're under the 50% requirement for lot coverage. So we are providing that. I guess the other thing I would say is it's a fairly unique area in terms of what is behind it. There's a lot of industrial, and you can kind of see it in the vicinity plan in the corner there. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this carriage house, there's already a drop down from grade to the alley. It's about 28 inches. And so they wanted a slightly higher garage to kind of shield the house from, I'll just say, not so nice view behind the building, behind the garage.
It's the impound lot, right? Or isn't the tow
Yeah.
lot?
Yeah. So it's just not, it's kind of a, I mean, I think there's some very nice alleys in Italian Village, and they're very pretty. This is not one of them.
Yeah, I hear.
So we wanted the building to be a screen to what was happening behind too. Okay, I don't know if you can. Oh, there's the streetscape. So I went out yesterday and kind of quickly measured the adjacent buildings so I could kind of show you what we're proposing.
Yep, yep.
And my client wants a little more of a contemporary look to the house. So.
Okay. Okay, well, this is conceptual, so I don't know if we need any more from you at this point. Probably should just dive into thoughts from the commission. So why don't I'll go around the horn. Todd, you want to start?
Sure. I don't really have any hesitation concerning the variances. I think a single family home is appropriate in this location. I don't really have any issues with the carriage house. I honestly, in just the first look, because we got this drawing today and I spent 2 seconds looking at it. Honestly, Julia, I'm usually okay with contemporary. This is like the only time I wish it would step back a little bit, just because all the houses on that street are so, there's kind of a rhythm to all those houses and a very traditional historic kind of flow with all the porches and the windows and the proportions, that I think the height is appropriate, the width, everything. It's maybe just the front porch, maybe some of the windows. That's just my first reaction conceptually. And it's only because of the context of this lot, honestly. So that's really all that I have.
Okay, Shannon?
I agree with Commissioner Boyer on the recommendations. I definitely am uncomfortable with the windows, how they are here. So, I mean, I could potentially be okay with something more modern, but not that modern for the same reason that Commissioner Boyer noted.
Okay. Brooke?
I'm fine with this conceptually, but I agree with the direction that the modernist style is taking. Seems to be a little out of place on this streetscape.
And Lauren?
I'm the same with other commissioners. I think one is good. I'm very against windows, and the roof line, I don't think it fits in with the rest of the street. I'm okay with modern, but I don't like this.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, as far as that house goes, its elevation to what is it, Summit Street? I think that needs to be revisited completely. I mean, I suppose the height and the narrowness are fine. The gable roof is fine. The asymmetry combined with that gable roof doesn't seem fine to me. But I really want to backpedal to a broader thing, and that's that I just don't think I feel pathetic about trying to combine lots. Partially because, you know, I think that's part of the character of this neighborhood is to have small lots. And I'm not sure I buy the building department issues because you can build. I mean, I would support shared lot line kind of structure if it were like a block building or something. I built a block garage and it was pretty successful right on the lot line. They allowed it. And if this is really about trying to get a huge carriage house on the back of these small lots, then I just am even more squeamish about that. So I am not feeling very optimistic or very supportive of the overall principle of making a lot happen on these two little lots.
Okay, I think I got through everybody. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add. I think the scale is okay for me. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I'm not crazy about the front elevation, but it's a little bit hard to tell, at least in the drawings I've got. So, so back to you, Julie. What else do you need from us today?
Well, I just, because, you know, I'll just say I had this discussion with my client about the contemporary nature on this particular street. And he pointed out some other examples of individual residential houses in Italian Village that were fairly contemporary. So I just, I don't know if someone could really summarize to him why this is different from some other areas.
I think from my perspective, the comment I think maybe Todd made, certainly like the rhythm of the way that there's sort of a front porch approach down that street. Not to say you couldn't do that in the contemporary way, but I think that having that, and I think one of the other things, having drawn the streetscape that you did, incredibly rhythmic set of front facades when it comes to the eave height and sort of the way those frontages present. Not that you couldn't break that with something else. It just seems like, I guess there is one that's a hip roof, a couple, maybe two, but there's just a lot of gables that are really symmetrical that go down to the exact same elevation there with that eave height and then the front porches. So those are the things for me.
Okay.
That I'm not saying you couldn't find that in modern. I just don't think that the modern, without nodding to those, really almost embracing those for me, as opposed to other sites like, you know, back where there were hardly any houses, everything was ripped down, you know, on 6th and all those other places where we have tons and tons of modern. That's fine. And even intermixed modern, I think, where you have places like flat roofed for, 4-unit buildings mixed with single family, mixed with old industrial garages. This just happens to have a whole bunch of houses in a row that have sort of that same.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, I know he's gonna ask me, so.
Yeah, and it's not impossible for you to get modern. It's just, I think you'd have to at least really think about those specific elements to make it work.
Okay, no, that's helpful. All right, great. I don't have any other questions, so.
Okay, any other commissioners want to make last comments before we move on?
I'm just trying to understand also a concept about joining properties and a rear carriage house, right?
That is part of it. Yeah, absolutely.
And Julie, have you explored other kinds of materials that allow you to build closer to lot line?
The problem is it's the size that's left. I mean, there's a couple issues. First of all, we can give ourselves, the city is going to want, if we're not 3 foot from the north property line and 3 foot from the south property line, we need cross-access easements from the neighbors, which we don't think we're going to get. So therefore, it becomes a space problem in order to get like the parking in there. And we were really trying to get, the 4 parking spaces. And the other thing is the view. So, I think from a conceptual standpoint and from the street, I don't think anyone would ever realize that this is one parcel. So to me, it's pretty invisible in terms of the context of Italian Village, in terms of, we can put a fence, there probably will be a fence between the 2 properties. It's going to look like every other property on the street. So that's why I didn't feel like making it a single lot was that impactful, to be honest. And that's why we went this direction.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? All right. Thanks, Julie. We'll see you, I'm sure, soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving ahead to 2010-25. And I have to abstain from this one, so this one's back over to you, Todd.
Hold on, no, number 13 is 20-10-24, 347 East 5th.
That's the one I actually have to abstain from. Sorry, just
okay. All right, just making sure we're on the same page with the right application. So this is the conceptual review for a redevelopment of a manufacturing site. This review is for phase 1 of the redevelopment of Site 1, the connectivity plan that allows for continuance of the existing sidewalk and road grids to the west into the neighborhood, north into Grant Park, and south to Site 2, and potentially continuing to 2nd Avenue. The commissioners at the business meeting requested to know the programming, parking, and dumpster plans were also requested. Since the area is at the very end of the neighborhood, commissioners are interested in knowing if affordable housing would also be included. Staff is too. The current design looks like Victorian Village. Commissioners encourage that more variation should be included. The area is situated in an industrial area, and it should pick up on the transition from the industrial to residential, as well as the merging of the 3 neighborhoods. Commissioners noted that this was a very important development and that they needed time to digest all of the information before giving additional comments. Staff recommends, as normal with conceptual reviews, to give design feedback that can be used at a future hearing. A basis for the recommendation is the standards for new construction, and I believe I listed them all there. So in sake of time, because I have a feeling that we're going to spend a little while on this one, and we've got a couple more. I'm not going to read them all out, but they're there for reference. So, Todd, I believe you are heading us up since Jason has abstained.
Yes. Just get my camera fixed here. Okay, so we've got a bunch of applicants here. Is everybody, whoever's going to speak, I need you guys to state your name for the record. So just go one by one, and then we'll come back. All right.
Matt Canterbury.
Okay.
Dan Haynes.
All right. Okay. Keep those hands up. Do you guys swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
Yes.
Yes.
Do.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. So if anybody wants to add kind of to Kim's description, feel free.
This
I'll
Kevin
keep very,
Likens
very
here.
brief.
Go ahead.
Kevin. That's you.
All right. So just to start off, we're excited to bring this project back in front of you guys. It's been several months since we initially brought it to you. Very conceptual and massing based last time. And I know last time you guys were pretty excited about just getting this site developed. And the fact that we were going to go the multifamily residential route here. So since then, a lot has happened. We've put a lot of fine tuning into the product that we want to bring. We've had a lot of meetings with the city, including James Goodman, and we think that we've got a product that kind of fits everybody's requirements for the site. And just so we're excited to bring it in front of you. I think first we'll let Matt kind of talk a little bit about our where we're at with the city, and then we'll just kind of all just chime in, either answering questions or to give you more detail on the project.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. From a big picture standpoint, and hello, everyone. We have had multiple meetings with the city, and as Kevin mentioned, including James Goodman, about the intent of this site. We've met with planning, we've met with zoning, economic development, we've met with power, et cetera, et cetera. So, this is a large site, and we do have an active warehouse component on there. So from that, a couple things that came out of those that was very important for us to study from a site plan standpoint was the ability to be able to continue the neighborhood grid over the connectivity, the walkability. Not only that, also being more of a fluid connector between, looking outside of the village into some major east-west thoroughfares. So none of these are finalized as of yet. I do want to say that, they are really there to set up the sort of structure and rhythm of our buildable site areas throughout the master plan. So those are things that as we progress, we intend to work on and try to work through. So those on the site plan shown as dashed lines are truly that right now. They're showing why our site plan is set up the way it is for connectivity. So those are all pieces of the puzzle that will come forward. Dan Haynes and his group have done a great job working with us. So he's going to talk about Site 1 in specific, as well as why the massing is how it is and some of the inspirations for the architecture before we hear your comments.
Great. Okay.
Oh, real quick, I apologize. Affordability. Hey, Dan, real quick, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Affordability, to answer that question, as it was asked. We do intend to actually model our affordability after some of the standards of the new abatement text, and that will be 10% at 80% AMI and 10 at 100.
Okay, great. So if we could go back to the site plan, and I'll try to walk us through this as quick as we can, and we'll get to some images as well too. So right now, this is the first of another development that we'll have. You can see that we've gone to some pretty great extents to try to imagine what those existing grids would be and bringing them back in and breaking up our buildings to align with those grids. We're starting in our northeast corner of the site and working backwards. The site actually has quite a bit of fall across it. So from the railroad tracks down to Grant Avenue, there's 13 foot of fall, which is allowing us to break the buildings up. And also what we're trying to do, if we just go to the next slide, maybe, sort of one of the major impetus for this sort of layout is that we're going to try to get the mass of the densities to the railroad side. And then as we break down into the smaller residential units, as we move towards sort of from east to west and the layout of the site as well too. If we could go to the next slide. There we go, thank you. Right now, the building is about 315 apartments. in the first phase, and we have just about 400 parking spaces. Those numbers fluctuate every time we sort of do some fine tuning, but those are the rough numbers that we're at. Those parking spaces are in a 2 levels of parking that goes under grade. And on top of that deck, there will actually be a greatly appointed amenity space. It'll be parked like on the interior of this courtyard. So as we can kind of see in this diagram here, the blue mass that goes up against the railroad pieces, that's where we're going to get the kind of the bulk of the density on this site. And those are sort of the taller pieces, 5 stories there. We want to get down to the next piece that was allowing us to jump down as we get all across the site. We're putting a strong corner onto this. This is sort of our entrance into this new Grant Avenue extension that we're coming down through. And then we thought that that was appropriate, this corner. And then as we start moving down along the new Grant Avenue that we're placing in there, we'll have more of a townhouse kind of feel as we come through that, with the top levels actually having some balconies and terraces. So kind of 3 levels at street with an upper sort of mansard level happening through there. Maybe if we just go to the next one, as we kind of spin around, we have we're stepping down again, what we're calling to the amenity building, which will overlook a park that we're placing through there that will be sort of centered in on the existing water tower that will remain. That amenity building will be, the clubhouse and the leasing place for this as well. And it's sort of focused in on the park as well too. And then the grade will start sloping up after we get to that amenity building, and services for the building will be happening on this south side. Then if we just quickly go through the slides, of sort of what this looks like. Here is that tower entry piece that we had talked about at the corner. We're trying to get some brick and some siding up high on these facades. Right now we're looking at a stone or cast stone down low. And then as we turn the corner and we start going to these townhouse facades, which will be sort of the main, excuse me, the main public facade on this building. Right now we're looking at this as being a brick that we're painting, and then we're trying to make sure that we get the appropriate sort of doors, landscape, streetscape happening between the road and the front of buildings. And then those masses will march down the street. And so from the pedestrian and these views, we're really keeping it to the 3.5 level building that you would have as we're hitting into the neighborhood, with sort of the mass beyond there, sort of outside of public view as you go across through there. So, and then as we jump down and go around the corner to the next view, we're thinking that this amenity thing right now, we're looking at sort of a gray brick with maybe even some gray glazed brick into it. And some metal and some differing size windows to sort of give us that sort of hotel-like feel for this entrance piece that's happening through there. So I think that's kind of the last slide. Don't want to take up much more of your time this evening. Thanks for staying late.
Perfect. Thank you guys. A lot to kind of digest, but we'll go around and get some different thoughts. Brooke, do you mind starting us off? Sorry to call you first.
Frankly disappointed. Oh, I'm on mute. Sorry.
You just unmuted.
You're
okay.
good now.
Okay. I'm disappointed in the style of this project. Definitely in favor of the development, but the style, it seems a little bit staid and maybe overdone and a little, ostentatious maybe. Also, the arrangement of the buildings feels like it's very much holding the good space in the middle to only those people rather than offering to the community, which I would think maybe might be a good idea around here. I don't know what, I mean, maybe you're not that far along to have that developed or any answers to that, but I just think, I think there's a lot more that could be done with this. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I do have one more question. Is there any retail planned for this, any of these buildings on the ground level?
There's no retail intended for Site 1.
Yeah, okay. All right.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Lauren, you mind going next?
No, I actually don't have very much to add from Brooke's comments. She kind of said everything I was thinking.
Okay. Perfect. Ben. Oh, you're still on mute, Ben. Ben.
How to fold into the fabric. But there are some important things I want you to hear. Just because you have big parcels doesn't mean you have to develop them in one big bulk way. And if you're serious about the grid, then you'll hear me well about that. We talk a lot about alleys and the sort of secondary streets. So, and I'll circle back around to that, but also that that to have these arbitrary sweeps, connectivity, connecting Second Avenue to Fifth, is not quite, community appropriate. I can see why it's being considered, but I do think that the sweep to get Grant Avenue to align with Grant going north of Fifth Avenue is probably a good idea for safety, but it might be that it's also appropriate to think about Grant being a boulevard there and where one side of it aligns well with the Grant north of Fifth Avenue and the other side is not, or it's just that's where the park is, so that your townhomes can actually face a boulevard or a park instead of the park being around the corner to the south. But moreover, as you go further south to that other bend in the middle at the top of Site 2, that instead of proposing a sweep or dog leg through there, that you might consider that that's a true offset and a small park there. That it's just an awkward moment, but it's in the interior part of the neighborhood. This is not intended to be a thoroughfare, so it's just about being able to navigate your way through with an automobile to some extent, and to a great extent by bike and by foot. So I'm going to put your feet to the fire about considering more knuckles and funkiness about the way and alleys to make this a true fabric that's connected to the community that you're building into. As far as architecture goes, I'll first start out with, I thought it was a great comment about whether some of this is going to be affordable, and then there's the follow-up question about any retail. And one of the things that we face as a society is not having any small marketplaces, for the lower economic demographics. So I would highly encourage you reinvestigate whether there's going to be a retail, especially if it is amenity style, market, small supermarket, or not supermarket, but a small market, or some other kind of support for what is kind of a very lean and austere area of our community. But getting into architecture, I think the townhomes are kind of cool. I think the other buildings you're proposing are bulky and respond to a bulky site instead of the rhythm of the neighborhood. I also have been advocating lately that the form factor of buildings near the railroad should perhaps be more like the industrial buildings that were there originally. So you can see in the site plan that there are these kind of long linear buildings. And why can't we sort of emulate that, creating a Disney World kind of, residential development with a fake turret, spire, gate kind of feature? Instead, just be honest and real. This could be a Camden Yards kind of set of structures that that follow that north-south axis and or otherwise parallel the railroad and front Fifth Avenue in a more sincere way, and really don't disturb the overall rhythm of what you have a development that's kind of north-south oriented. So so there are some things there architecturally that I think you need to reconsider. There's some things there in terms of the broader planning and in terms of the sort of fabric of the neighborhood.
Perfect. Thank you. Shannon, anything to add?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. I think I agree with Brooke that I'm disappointed in the style. The brick townhomes on Grant are better than what's going on Fifth and at that corner. I think that it looks Victorian Village campusy to me. I agree with Ben that it needs to take homage with what's there currently with the warehouses. I'm also really am not comfortable with the entire site not being mixed use on Fifth. I think that a big part of what connects the neighborhood is to another is not just housing. It's about the activity on the street in that neighborhood. So I'd really like to understand why Fifth isn't being viewed as somewhere where retail should be facing the street. And I agree with Ben about the road connections. I think that you've done a really good job with Grant Avenue. But in order for this to continue moving forward, I think we're going to need to see a real site plan with exactly how you envision these roads looking really kind of getting down in the details, because I believe that the site is going to potentially be, more important than the architecture in my mind of this, just because it is going to be moving on to this site too. So we want to make sure that we get that right from the beginning. I do see that you have this green space. And so what I would want to know about this green space just west of the water tower is that community green space? Is that made just for, residents, things like that? So kind of all of that, I think, is going to have to come into play as we start looking at this.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Shannon. I have just a couple comments. I'll try not to repeat anything that other folks have said. I guess I would start with, I appreciate the quality of the materials that are being suggested right off the bat. That's nice to see. I think maybe in the next round, I think we get a nod to what you're thinking for the architectural kind of stylistic approach to the apartments. Kind of following up on what Ben said, I think I get a glimpse of a few spots where I think it actually could have some of that already warehouse feel built into it, which I think would be appropriate. Very kind of simplistic brick detailing and stuff, which is nice. Just maybe want to explore that more in the next kind of images that we see. I think that is probably what turns me off a little bit to what's happening on Grant and Fifth. It has just a little bit too much of a collegiate styling for me that doesn't really fit with what I kind of, look around and see where the neighborhood's kind of going. It's a little too collegiate for me. The townhouses, I think, could be appropriate. I think they're headed in the right direction. to follow up on a lot of the site comments, I mean, it seems like that change in elevation is an interesting thing that could be explored, or the site grading. But it's tough to feel right now, and just what we're seeing, because it is built. This whole site is kind of like a fortress, and it does feel like it needs relief. And I'm not sure where that is, but honestly, my favorite piece is the amenity building. Really speaking architecturally, I think that one has some detailing, some scale, some pieces that feel like that's what we would have found in Italian Village, all up and down 4th. Some of the stuff that's on 5th. That really feels almost like it was there and you built around it. So I think the collision of the buildings at that point, I think, are something to really explore. Much to the way Brooke was, kind of talking about, if there's a relief valve to the park in the south, where does that happen? Does it happen around this amenity building? Not sure, but I think that's all I had. So if you guys have any thoughts or any things you want to clarify, or any other questions you want to ask, kind of feel free.
Hey, this is Kevin here. I'll just jump in just to clarify, appreciate all the comments. And we do have a lot of driving factors on this site. First is that we don't control the entire Clark site at this point. So, we are limited to the points that are the parts that we do control. This site does have some environmental concern. And that's why we are doing the 2 levels below grade, so we can take advantage of cleaning that up and then have a voided space. So that's from a financial aspect makes some sense for us. And then the number of units that you have to get on a site like this to have it make any financial sense is also a very big driving factor for us. And then the last thing I was going to say is on the overall height. I know that didn't come up and seem like a concern, but we did pay attention to that and make sure that we weren't, creating a building that was taller than the existing neighboring industrial sites. They're a couple feet taller than the highest height on our structure as well. And we didn't want to do anything to block views of the tower. That's a pretty important part to us. No. And then as far as the grid pattern on the street, that was something that was discussed at length with the city and is a very important factor. I think they see that this grid pattern hasn't been opened up to this site for, my goodness, it may be 75 to 100 years. So if we are at a point where we do get control of larger sections of it, that'll be something that I know that the city and all departments are really going to push, not just from we would like to have this open up in the neighborhood, but from a functionality standpoint, from trash to fire to every other service department for the city.
Gotcha. Perfect. Any other thoughts or? Okay, commissioners, any other thing you want to add?
Roger, thanks for coming in. It's good to see good brain power behind this, and glad you've been meeting with the city and open to our comments.
All right, thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We appreciate it. Bye. All right.
Sounds good.
Hey, you back?
Let's go on to the next one. Second to the last one, I think.
Second to last one.
Second to the last one. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is application number IV-20-10-025-243 East 3rd Avenue, a conceptual review to construct a 2.5-story single-family house with an attached garage. Will have brick and fiber cement vertical siding, trim, and fascia, aluminum-clad windows, full-light entry doors, flat metal panel garage doors, welded street front porch railings. Commissioners at the business meeting thought that the large window was better here than a single unit than the previous design for East Prescott. The porch detail with the iron rods didn't seem necessary or appropriate as the windows were so dominant. The height should fit in with the neighborhood. HBO staff notes that the pre-proposal houses are increasing in height outside the neighborhood context. The commissioners should offer design feedback to use at a future IBC hearing. Basis for recommendation 3116.12 standards for new construction. And again, A through G, I will save everyone time and not read all of those out. But I believe we've got Kara here as our applicant.
Okay. Are you there? Oh, there you are, Kara. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Carrick Sherrill.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So over to you.
This is a conceptual review of a single-family home. I think Kimberly got to most of it. We're just looking for your feedback. We feel like it's a fairly appropriate composition for what we've seen in the neighborhood being approved. We've broken down the mass in a couple different ways with a pitched roof in the front and a flatter roof in the back to work with the garage mass and to achieve a flat roof for a small private terrace. If I could get some clarification on the railing around the front porch, that would be helpful. Other than that, I'll just take your comments.
Okay, sounds good. I'll just run through everybody. Shannon, you want to start?
I don't have any comments on this. I think my big thing was the parking, and I think that seemed to have gotten resolved.
Okay. Brooke?
I don't have a lot to say. I do think the windows on the front elevation, the big windows on the front elevation feel a little odd somehow. I don't know what else to say about that. Just feels out of proportion, out of character with the rest of the house, maybe a little forced.
Ben?
But I'm almost willing to give that a pass. The proportions of the gable, I mean, it's almost like the left and right edges where the left and right edge of a two double window might have been, and combined with a fairly strong elevation with traditional proportions, I'm willing to let this go. And Carrick has also put a nice little water table brick detail at the porch level that I think is appropriate. The porch, a little trendy, but I think I'll give a pass on that. I think the rail, to answer your question, Carrick, is probably fine given the way you've decided to handle the roof. But moving around, and by the way, this whole compressed sort of elevation of two different sort of designs into one always leaves me a little queasy, but it feels from this elevation a little more appropriate compared to some we've seen and what we're going to see next. But here are the big things. I think as we move around to the east elevation and the garage, the clash of this rectilinear garage element into the roof is inappropriate, and I will not support this project for that reason alone. And I'm also feeling a little queasy on the west elevation, the offset dormer. I would sooner see the full height of the higher roof peak carry back and capture the dormer and be a smaller dormer. I just think there's just too much cheeky separation of forms and edges going on. So if you can simplify those two forms I think I can support the project.
Okay, Todd.
I think I'll just stay with Ben's kind of train of thought. That's probably the only thing I really object to is just kind of that west southwest intersection of all those roof forms and the flat garage piece. It just kind of falls apart right there. I actually really like the second story, looks like a screened porch on the west elevation. I think that's a nice detail.
Yeah.
That, looks like it's probably, wood trimmed out, all that kind of stuff, which is almost, I wish the north elevation, that big window wasn't a warehouse style thin mullioned window system. It had actually more of that kind of heavier wood trim, something to make it feel more traditional. But I really like that second floor patio, and that's where I just kind of wish that west face could stay simple with the roof forms and all that kind of stuff to highlight that piece versus it just kind of running into each other on the south edge. So I think with that cleaned up and then, maybe a different look at it, I think I could be totally on board.
Okay, Lauren.
I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, I don't have anything else either. I'm in line with everything that's been said so far. So, Carrick, what else you need from us on this one?
If Ben could just repeat what he started with about the garage, it broke up a little bit. I didn't get to hear it completely.
I think I'm saying pretty much if you heard Todd, then you heard me. It's just there's a clash of form, and it needs to be brought into more compliance with the rest of the motif. And I did mention this dormer on the west elevation being, to me, a little, the offset being too cheeky. So I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's get into your next one then, so we can wrap up. Staff, you want to jump into the next one?
Sure. This is 20-10-26, which is 42 to 44 East Prescott, a conceptual review to combine the parcels at 42-44 East Prescott and 45-47 East First. All existing buildings will remain with minor interior renovations. Develop the remainder of the parcels to add 6 townhomes and 3-car garage carriage house per the submitted drawings. The parcel to the east will be allocated an easement through the combined parcels with a carriage house proposed for the rear of the lot. Commissioners at the business meeting found that the design was better and more to scale with the existing structures in the neighborhood. There was a comment that the design was totally disrespectful to the Civil War cottage house and that the 2 townhouses were not a good neighbor. Commissioners thought that the parking was a better solution than what was previously proposed. The applicant is requesting feedback for the site plan, density of the proposal, and lot combinations. The elevation drawings are a work in progress. BZA council variations will be provided at a later date. And as standard with conceptual reviews, staff recommends providing feedback to use at a future hearing. The recommendations are based off of 3116.12 standards for new construction A through G.
Okay, Carrick, you want to inform us on anything on this one before we dive in?
Sure. I mean, you can obviously see in the package this month the size and shape and relationship of this proposal to the Prescott Place building. We've significantly decreased the overall height of the our proposal for this month, but you can see the relationship of the front of our building to the Prescott Place building and how that is really imparts a great deal of heaviness to our site. the comments from last month about trying to reduce the amount of it all looking like a project, or one project, we tried to achieve by changing the style of the building to something that might be seen on the corner of two alleys. I know David Cook is not appreciative of the size of that building next to the the duplex that faces First Avenue. That building has a fairly high ridge line. It's got a significant addition on the back. We're, stepping down our parapet line in order to, step up to the taller portion of the building. And I don't think that the dichotomy of styles or the juxtaposition of styles on the corner of two alleys is all that unwarranted. I think other than that, I'll take your comments on the site plan and the style of the building.
All right, sounds good. Go through. Brooke, you want to start?
No.
No? Okay. Todd, you want to start?
Yeah. Do I have a pass I can play too? Like what?
Eventually somebody will start. I'll just keep going.
Yeah, I'll go. It's fine. Just kidding. Sorry, let me get to the slide here. I don't know. This one is tough for me, honestly. I'll start with I do appreciate the reduction in scale. I think that is more appropriate than the prior applications. I think that is nice. I like the idea or the concept of them being separate buildings. So the bigger one to the south, I think, and then the different stylistic building to the north. I think I like that idea. I think that's in concept. I know we had talked about that. That's nice. One of the things that I struggle with a little bit is actually kind of what we just talked about on the last one, is the southwest corner. And I think I see it in the slide, the next slide. It's the 3D image from Prescott and Alley. It's just the flat roof piece there in the corner and the way that it interacts with that existing house. I just something about that. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to. They don't play well together. I don't know if it just needs more of a gable roofed end or a hip roofed end to something versus just kind of this flat, parapet end, and then we start something new. That I kind of struggle with that transition between the existing building and this new one. But then some of the other, the stylistic elements, I don't know. There's lots to be developed. How it hits the ground, how all that siding kind of hits the ground is a big one that I think you'll work out as you develop it. It feels like really big houses, like the gable ends kind of have that two-tiered gables, which kind of give you that McMansion feeling, just covered in a gazillion different layers of siding to kind of break it down, which I kind of struggle with right now because I know that lately the solution for a lot of folks in our village is just to paint it all gray. And I'm not sure that's going to work in this situation. So I don't have a lot of great comments because I'm still trying to think through it to be productive or give you something that's positive to kind of go off of, because there's just a lot there that I'm not sure about yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop there.
Okay. Shannon? Sounds good. Shannon?
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate this better. I think that my parking concerns were taken care of how that was going to kind of fit onto the site. This gives a nice edge to the alley, honestly. I mean, I think that alley is probably used more than people realize. I really think that the site stuff has been kind of taken care of, and so I think I'll sit back and let the architects kind of deal with the rest as long as the height stays where it's at.
Okay, Brooke, you ready yet, or are you still waiting?
No, I'm ready.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, and thank you for that little reprieve. I do feel, I feel a little bit like Todd that, and that's why I didn't want to start off, because I was afraid that I wouldn't have very many positive comments to make, but I do. The lower height, definitely, but I agree with Todd and with the idea that it does feel a little like a McMansion with just a large number of materials, or it just, maybe it's not a large number of materials, but it just feels very busy. And so I think in simplifying that, maybe it could come off a little better, but I appreciate the modifications that have been made thus far.
Okay, great. Who's left? Lauren?
I don't have much to add. I also appreciate the scale. For me, it just feels like a lot of different things going on, which I think is kind of what all of the architects of the group are saying. It just feels like a lot of different styles, different roof lines, different materials. And for me, I would like to see something different.
Okay. Ben? You ready, Ben?
Can you hear me?
Yep, got you.
Yep.
You can hear me now.
Yep.
Yep.
I think we kind of force this kind of divine thing on you, but I'm just going to get into some of the tactile things. I think it's, for me, the site plan and the program are part of the reason this is going wrong as well. I just think that, for example, along the alley, on that last view we're looking at, besides the carbuncle of that squarish thing that on the Prescott view, alley view, it's just that there's this compression of architectural styles and components, and that combined with the fact that there are no porches and no space for any sort of space to create plantings, just really make this feel like a cartoon set instead of a proper set of buildings on a site that has some way of becoming homey. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that this is trying to be in a building, and all this stuff that's on the elevation is just trying to conceal all of that, where, in my opinion, this should be a set of condos, and not trying to squeeze so many different doors and spaces into it. And even if that requires these buildings being taller and narrower, like you had them before, I'm for it, because right now we've got this sort of compressed, unsuccessful busyness. And so, for me, this project, if it continues this path, will be unsupported by me going forward.
Okay, I think that's just me. I don't have a ton to add. Yeah, this apartment building, whatever this one on the right is, it's not great. And I think Ben's on the right track. I get it. You're trying to get some kind of program in there. You're trying to get some number of units, but it just feels like it would make a lot more sense to just have a series of sort of regular front doors along this street that responded to the individual units that were along the street. Maybe it does, it just doesn't look like that. I don't know. It seems like a lot of effort to make something that seems strange. As far as Ben's last comment, though, I'm gonna go with what everybody else said. I don't see any reason this needs to be taller. I mean, I think it's plenty tall. I think it's tall enough, and you can still get those kind of units in it, and you can still have front doors that face the street. So I don't think that would be something I'd be interested in. The other thing I have that we haven't really talked about, and again, we don't need to get into today, but I will be interested to hear about what you are going to do with this alley, because I've just been taking a little Google walking tour of that, and I believe I've been walked down it a zillion times, but I'm just going visually through it right now, and I just don't think you can leave this alley like this, even if they say you can, because it doesn't work. So I don't know. I'd just be interested to see what your long-term plans are for the overall alley. What your improvements are going to be. How you're going to make sure that that functions as an actual means of getting folks up and down there vehicularly, because I know a lot of people use it as a pedestrian cut through. So that's what I've got. What else do you need from us today? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm certainly trying to hone in on the comments that try not to make it look like a project, break down the mass, but then it's too busy. So I'm trying to find a middle ground for that in my head. I'm also interested, just kind of off the wall, a different approach, your thoughts on if some of these homes had garages facing the alley versus the rear.
I mean, I can answer those two things real quickly. I think that you maybe are really hung up on this "don't make it a project" comment. I think all that means is you had two buildings that were like pretty much identical. And I think the fact that it's two different buildings for me already makes it not look like that. Maybe other people feel more strongly about it. So I don't think that's the issue. I think it just needs to be, a good piece of architecture that looks like it blends into the way that the overall feeling is. I mean, am I 100% against you having garages on there? No, because of the nature of what this is, but I don't think you need to. I think you've got a pretty good site plan right now. And I think that, you can make it work in a more typical kind of townhouses or townhouse feel in a row kind of way. So I would prefer you didn't. And I just think that the architecture of that just has so much going on. It's just a matter of simplifying it a lot. So that's my take.
Okay.
Other commissioners?
I would support garages on this particular alley.
Anybody else want to chime in with anything else at all?
I would say that I would not support garages on this alley. I think it's a really tight alley. I feels tight walking down it. I can't imagine the turning radius and just the generalized safety aspects of that. Even if you get it through the city, it just doesn't seem like the type of alley that should be having cars going up and down it.
Yeah, it's actually
should have pedestrians.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one to back out into consistently. I think it would be. I just think the whole alley approach, you just need to give us some more information about what you're going to do. But that's a good point. That's a good point, Shannon. Anyone else have thoughts on this? I know we're well over time now. Okay, well, thanks again. We look forward to seeing it again very soon.
Okay.
So
all right, thank you.
Right, so I wanted to pass something by you guys real quick. And I mean, real quick, I've got an upcoming application that should probably be on next month. It is a more modern house, roughly 14 years old. They're proposing to remove their brick chimney. It was installed incorrectly, so it's got problems with leaking. How do we feel on this? Because I'm a little conflicted because the chimney is technically a contributing factor and we typically look at historic homes. So would it be different since this is non-historic, or
Did you
or would
say?
it be
Did you say 40 or 14?
14? Sorry.
I mean, if it was done in order to be a significant part of the initial design, but if it's not, then I don't think it matters. But I'll see what everybody else says.
1914. What was
No,
the
I think
14?
it's 14 years old.
2006. Yeah, 2006 vintage.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think if people own shoes that are older than a house, that definitely creates a much more lax circumstance. That's I think a good way to judge it.
I think I'm just going to look the other way.
Yeah, I think your judgment, honestly, if you think it's like a significant contributing factor, I mean, it's certainly, I'm just thinking of like, there's a zillion like Georgian homes in New Albany that are new that you couldn't take down the chimney because it would mess up the whole symmetry. I just don't think that typically that's part of our architecture, but for new architecture here, but.
I did start looking
Are they
into.
having water issues already? Is that what you're saying? Are they wanting to remove it because of water?
Yes. Yeah. Apparently it wasn't installed correctly, which my thing is, well, take it down and reinstall it correctly. But I mean, we do also have to look at guidelines.
Yeah.
Haven't we allowed like a veneered kind of replacement?
I think the application might have it as veneered, but I got it today and I don't dive too deep into the applications until I'm done with this one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It avoids a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, and just general insanity. Yeah, that's no doubt.
Oh, I'm way past that.
Yeah.
No, Ben, remind me again at the next business meeting. I would like to go over how to submit an application, but I'd like to do it when we're not all probably exhausted and tired of staring at a computer.
Excellent. Okay, so we done?
Well, I don't know. Has anybody made a motion to dismiss us?
Let's hear it.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Shannon.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yep.
Todd.
Yes.
Brooke. Lauren.
Yes, please.
Well, we are dismissed. Okay, thanks everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you.
Okay,
in a couple weeks.
See ya.